Good evening, I'm Marivel Tarouk. Gun violence turned deadly last night in downtown Toronto. 3 men are dead and 2 are injured after a party in a condo unit rented on Airbnb. Greg Ross has the details.
It was just after 10 o'clock Friday night when gunshots echoed through this downtown high-rise.
And then I heard 6 shots ring out. 6, 7, 8, something like that.
It just sounded like loud popping noises.
For some residents, it was a little too close for comfort.
My mom had texted me saying, hey, I heard something in your building. And I'm like, no, there's no way. And then my boyfriend goes, no, it was here and it was our floors.
Police say it started in a unit on the 32nd floor, where a group of people were having a party in a condo that had been rented through Airbnb.
Officers attended the address and located 4 persons suffering from gunshot wounds. 2 were pronounced dead at the scene. 1 was transported to hospital via emergency run but succumbed to his injuries. And a 4th was transported to hospital with serious injuries and is being treated in hospital right now.
This is brutal, it's tragic, it's unacceptable in every way.
This morning, the focus quickly shifted to the fact that this is yet another shooting in a downtown condo rented on Airbnb.
What we see are people buying up 3, 4, 5, 10 units and using them as ghost hotels, often as party suites. That's not appropriate, it's not safe, and far too often it's resulting in tragedies like these.
City Council recently passed a bylaw that would only allow people to use their primary residence for short-term rentals like this, but that decision is being appealed by agencies like Airbnb.
The bylaw that the city passed, that is under a legal appeal, and so we are not able to enforce that bylaw because it is being appealed.
Today, a steady stream of short-term renters were seen wheeling their luggage in and out of this building and others close by. In fact, when you do a Google search for hotels in the area, the condo building next door appears listed as the Sarkar Suites, something that has many long-term residents feeling uneasy.
I don't feel it's that safe. If I wanted to live in a hotel, I would move to the Thompsons.
Airbnb owes everybody in this building an apology, and I think they have liability here.
Property management for these buildings sent out a letter to residents this morning with this change to the short-term rental policy. It said management is working with the board and the solicitor to have the rule sent out this week to all residents, thus banning anything shorter than 3 months and hopefully alleviating issues associated with short-term rentals. But many believe the responsibility should fall on the shoulders of short-term rental agencies.
This is very simple for these short-term companies. They can simply delist all the properties that aren't a primary residence. They could do that yesterday, they could do it today, and we've called on them to make sure they do it right away.
And we've just received an update from police in the last few minutes. Police telling us that they have located 2 guns here in this condo building. They tell us that the shooting occurred in a unit on the 32nd floor and then spilled out into the hallway on that floor. And they have released the names of the 3 people who have been killed. We're told that Jalen Colley, 21 years old, of Brampton, Joshua Gibson Skier, 20 years old, of Brampton, and Tyrone Noseworthy, 19 years old, of Toronto, were the 3 men who were killed. Now, they say they're not looking for any additional suspects. They won't say if there were multiple shooters in this situation. They won't say if anybody would have been charged in this situation, other than to say that they believe that everybody who was involved in this shooting was involved, and those 3 men are the 3 men who have been killed, Marivel.
All right, thanks for the update on this, Greg. There are now 4 confirmed cases of coronavirus in Canada. As the virus spreads, many Asian Canadians have become targets of hurtful treatment. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau spoke out today saying there's no place for discrimination in Canada. Lorenda Redekop visited Chinatown in Toronto, where people told her about the racist incidents they have been facing.
It's a walk through Chinatown to promote local businesses after one resident noticed business everywhere was down.
I brought all my friends to shop here because I know it's been slow, and we support you. You're welcome. All right.
The idea was born yesterday morning and turned into this.
It is really important that all of us invested in the vitality and the diversity of this city. It's really our responsibility to stand up and show up.
It's not just businesses affected. Asian Canadians say they're experiencing racist incidents. People not wanting to sit near them on public transit, negative comments, with the whole community seen as possible carriers of the virus.
I thought the solidarity aspect is really important. I live in Toronto, I'm Chinese. I hear a lot about this in my family, and they're afraid to come out.
My husband's actually a physician at Sunnybrook Hospital, where the first case was admitted. He is as calm could be. I mean, he's working right in a hospital where someone was admitted. You know, he doesn't come home wearing a mask.
According to the latest census, more than 1.5 million Canadians identify as Chinese. The largest communities here in Toronto and in Vancouver. Similar stories were also heard during SARS in 2003, but this time they're social media, in some cases flooded with misinformation.
I do find this time it's even more. It's worse because there's sort of uncensored and brazen hate speech and racism could rear its head without any sanctions as compared to the time we were living through SARS.
Today, the Prime Minister spoke at a Lunar New Year event.
Let me be clear. There is no place in our country for discrimination driven by fear or misinformation.
After hearing his message, this community leader wants more.
And not just come out and speak strongly against it now, but do something on an ongoing basis. Because if this racism keeps going, right, and rear its head every time, we're not going to resolve the issue. In fact, it's just going to get worse and worse.
Back in Chinatown, this dance is part of New Year celebrations, but fits with what the community is trying to do. It symbolizes warding away evil spirits to bring good luck and wealth. Lorenda Redicomp, CBC News, Toronto.
As concern mounts, many countries have begun closing their borders to arrivals from China. The U.S. and Australia will deny entry to all foreign visitors who've recently been in China, where the virus broke out in December. Other countries, including Italy, Japan, Pakistan, Singapore, and Russia, had already announced travel restrictions. Global health officials have warned against such measures. The World Health Organization recommends screening at border crossings. It says closing borders could mean people enter unofficially, which could bring in cases of the virus undetected. Police have made an arrest in connection to a hit and run that killed a woman in a wheelchair. It happened early yesterday morning near Dixie Road and Lakeshore in Mississauga. 45-year-old Penny Coussard was using her motorized wheelchair in a bike lane when she was struck and killed. Today, police arrested and charged a 56-year-old Mississauga man with failure to remain causing death and with dangerous operation of a motor vehicle. The man was held for a bail hearing and was due to appear in a Brampton court today. Anyone with information or dashboard camera video is urged to call police. Contract talks between Ontario's public elementary school teachers and the government have broken off. After 3 days of negotiations, both sides failed to reach an agreement yesterday. The Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario is now preparing to increase strike action next week. Ontario's education minister released a statement saying talks have been called off for now. No new dates have been scheduled. Catholic teachers are also planning a province-wide strike on Tuesday. They will resume bargaining with the province on Monday. It's time now for our first check of the weather. Rachel Schutzen is here with that. Fairly mild today. It was kind of nice.
I know, but another cloudy day, Maribel. Did you feel like January overall was pretty cloudy?
Oh boy, I don't know. I'm just glad January's gone, actually.
You know what? It ranked as the 7th cloudiest, gloomiest January in Toronto. And guess what? We had more cloud cover today to start off February, and now we have a little shot of snow. So some light flurries are falling, and they're going to stick with us until about midnight tonight. The winds are nice and calm, gusting to about 20 kilometers an hour, so easy to deal with if you are heading out, maybe going downtown tonight. -1 in Toronto right now, -2 in Hamilton, -1 up in Barrie. We had some really nice ski conditions today across the north. As we take a look hour by hour, we're not getting too cold throughout the overnight. You definitely still need your mitts and your hat, though, if you will be out, and do expect the roads to stay a little slick if you are driving this evening. Until about midnight, that clears out. But then we go into tomorrow morning. morning, we have another round of snow that comes through. See this front here? That's going to bring us yet another cloudy day as we go into February 2nd. Some flurries as well. And right along the lakeshore, we do have a bit of a south push of wind that warms you up right along the lake, and that's where we could get some mixing. So here it is. Tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, 0 in Toronto, -1 in Oakville, light flurries across the GTA, and then we look at the afternoon, there's a little bit of mixing. Now we will have the winds really increasing as we go through the day tomorrow, and that is hinting at a warm up coming into Monday. So I'll give you those details when I return.
Okay, we'll see you in a few minutes. Thanks, Rachel.
No problem.
It has been almost a month since 176 people lost their lives on the Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752. And today, a memorial for 2 victims was held in Thornhill.
My name is Mahmoud Zibai, but it's not anymore. Because now people all around the world know me as Maya's dad and Shahzad's husband.
45-year-old Shahzad Hashemi and her 15-year-old daughter Maya Zibai were coming home from Iran after visiting family when their plane was shot down by Iranian forces on January 8th. Family and friends gathered at the memorial to honor the two. They are survived by Hashemi's husband and Zibai's dad, Mahmoud. He says his daughter is very lovely and was the pillar of the family. They moved to Canada in 2016.
3, 2, 1.
It is official, the UK is out. The long-awaited Brexit has finally happened, but now a new deal will have to be made with the EU. We'll have that story after the break. It's been years in the making, but as of last night, the UK has officially left the European Union. Brexit divided opinions in the country. But as Aaron Collins reports, the first step in the road ahead is negotiating a new deal with the EU.
It's the morning after the big day in the UK. Britain has Brexited, leaving the EU behind to go it alone. A moment in history, years in the making, counted down outside Parliament last night.
3, 2, 1.
So, after the long goodbye, what's actually changed for the UK today? Well, not much, actually. Last night's deadline was mostly symbolic. The rules that bound the UK to the EU will remain in place for now. The two sides have just 11 months to negotiate a new deal. No easy task. It took Canada 7 years to negotiate its trade deal with the EU. The UK has to get the job done by New Year's, so the clock is ticking again.
We need to ensure that we do maintain good trade relationships with Europe. We don't tear up all the conditions and agreements we've received, and we don't fall into the arms of free trade deals with the United States.
Other than sorting out how to trade with its biggest partner, finding a way to unify this country is also top of mind here. Brexit has happened, but people here remain deeply divided.
Our voters leave, I'm happy about it. It's great. We're going to thrive. It'll be all right.
It's going to take at least a year or two to get used to the idea. Nothing's really going to change until the end of the year, so we'll wait and see how the negotiations go and hope for the best.
I'm so sad that my children will never have the opportunity to work as I have done all over Europe. What more can I say? Without crying.
Uniting those who wanted to stay in the EU with those who wanted to leave could be the key to the UK's future. Both Northern Ireland and Scotland voted to remain in the EU, and rumblings of independence have already started.
Brexit has put Scotland on the wrong road, and the further down that road we go, the longer it will take and the harder it will be to get back on the right one. We need back on the right road as soon as possible.
So Brexit has happened. The UK has won its independence from the European Union. The irony is that the price of that freedom might just be the UK's eventual breakup. Aaron Collins, CBC News, London.
In the U.S., the battle to win the Democratic caucuses in Iowa reaches a fever pitch this weekend. On Monday, Democrats there will become the first to cast votes for the party's 2020 presidential candidates. The polls have 4 candidates bunched up together at the top. And as Stephen D'Souza tells us, they're all hoping for a breakout moment.
They don't want me to be the nominee because they know I'll beat him like a drum.
With the impeachment trial in Washington all but wrapped up, the American political lens turned to Iowa, where the race for a Democratic presidential nominee seems wide open.
We have to beat him, not just for us, but for the country, not just for a Democratic victory, but to be able to cleanse the country.
Former Vice President Joe Biden still leads the pack, with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders close behind, as senators freed from the impeachment trial returned to the campaign trail.
The Iowa caucus is where we start this path, not just to get rid of Donald Trump. That's a big one. Believe me, after this past week, that is a really big one.
Last night, Republican senators voted down a motion for witnesses at the impeachment trial. With final arguments and speeches next week, it's all but assured Donald Trump will be acquitted in a vote on Wednesday.
Are there any senators in the chamber wishing to change his or her vote?
Still, Democrats are using the hearings as ammunition against Trump.
We do not want a president who has contempt for the Constitution, contempt for the rule of law, contempt for democracy.
But as an issue, impeachment has never rated highly amongst Democratic primary voters. Most assume Trump abused the power of his office. So from health care to the economy, Democratic candidates are tailoring a message that reaches beyond impeachment.
This is more than an economic check, this election. It is a patriotism check. It is a decency check. It is a values check.
As for voters,
we need to nominate the person who can beat President Trump. That's the #1 issue.
I have never
been not willing to take a chance. And I think this election, we maybe need to take a chance.
Impeachment began in September, but the town halls and campaign ads here started long before that. It all wraps up on Monday. Iowa will make its choice as the focus turns squarely to the 2020 presidential race. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
One of the big things is that Canadians seem to love chocolate. And what we do is we bring the beans into Canada, then we roast and process them and turn it into fine dark chocolate. And that's what Canadian chocolate makers are doing now.
It is the tastiest event of the year. The Winter Chocolate Show sweetened up the Enoch Turner Schoolhouse today. We'll take you there for a sample coming up after the break. Chocolate lovers got their fill today at the second annual Winter Chocolate Show. The event hosted many so-called bean-to-bar vendors and their products as a way of celebrating the country's best craft chocolate makers.
Canada should be known for some of the world's best chocolate. Here today you'll find bean-to-bar chocolate makers, and those are people that craft chocolate starting with the cocoa bean, and they do things like roast it and grind it and add different sweeteners to it. To turn it into fine dark chocolate. And then we have another selection of chocolatiers, and those are the artists that take chocolate pre-formed then they will add things to it. They'll turn it into truffles. They'll turn it into flavored chocolate bars. And they're the ones that really do a lot of more magic with the chocolate. One of the big things is the Canadians seem to love chocolate. These are people that appreciate the flavors and the complexity of dark chocolate. They're the ones that, although they may understand the attraction of a confectionery bar like a Mars bar or an Aero bar, they also love the variety of flavors that you can get and the nuance that different makers can create when they work with the different beans from around the world.
Looks delicious. Rachel, that's the one assignment I wish I was on today.
You know what? That's a festival with my name on it, too.
Totally. And pretty decent temperatures if people want to get out and about this weekend.
Absolutely. You know, we've been really comfortable. We've been looking at a little bit of flurries tonight, and that's going to linger on until about midnight tonight. We're -1 right now in Toronto, -2 in Hamilton. As we look into tomorrow morning, we are going to see another band of snow that will track through. So this moves out of the way, and then see this coming in here, some light stuff again. So not really slowing down the drive, but kind of greasing up the roads a little bit. Nothing that you're going to have to shovel, but just be aware if you're on the roads tomorrow. Now into the afternoon, up to 2 degrees in Toronto. So yeah, mild, nice to deal with, but if you're along the lakeshore, that's going to be more of a bit of a rain, snow, kind of a misty mix, and another cloudy, another overcast day. But I want to show you something interesting with the winds, okay? The winds are coming in out of the southwest, and they're going to be pretty strong. Some of those gusts close to 30, even 40 kilometers an hour. And all of that southerly wind is going to warm us up as we go into Monday. You may not even need gloves walking the dog on Monday. 6 degrees in Toronto, 6 in Oakville, Niagara Falls, and Hamilton, even Barrie up to 3 degrees, and we should have some sunshine. Not full-blown sunshine, but some peaks of sun, and I know we all need that vitamin D right now. So as we look at the forecast over the next 3 days, Kitchener gets up to 4 degrees on Monday, Markham at 6, Burlington at 6, but don't think this is the start of spring. No, not yet. Look at Barrie, for example. As we go into next week, that cooler air is back Wednesday, -5. A snowy pattern also returns. Toronto, similar situation for you as well, but we do have some good chances of seeing that sunshine as we go into next week. And of course, tomorrow, it's a big day. I know you're thinking I'm going to say Super Bowl, but in the weather world, it's a big day, of course, for groundhogs. So here at the Weather Network, we're going to be tracking those groundhogs right across the country. Wyerton Willie, he's going to have some cloud cover tomorrow, so I'm thinking probably 6 more weeks of winter.
Okay, well, the bets are on then. We'll see for that and the Super Bowl. Thanks, Rachel.
No problem.
Well, today marks the first day of Black History Month, and Harbourfront's Kumba is the longest-running celebration of the month in Toronto.
I don't think there's a single thing here that will not leave you feeling a little bit more aware of a conscious matter or a different point of view or some type of creative expression. I'm standing in front of Colin Kaepernick's exhibit, and we're talking about knowing your rights and how to arm the youth with the appropriate tools and how to get them educated. So that to me is more of a hopeful sense of things instead of looking back and maybe looking at the struggle.
This is the exhibit's Jubilee year, meaning it's the 25th celebration. The event includes original artwork and a commissioned mural by Jamaican artist Crystal Ball. There's also stand-up comedy and theater wrapped into the celebration. Everything will be on all month, but some select exhibits will stay up until June, so there is plenty of time to check it out. It looks pretty great, and that is our show for you tonight. We're going to leave you, though, with some shots of Lake Ontario on this relatively mild first day of February. We are expecting that warm up on Monday, as Rachel said, with highs around 6 degrees. Thanks so much for watching. Stay caught up on news anytime on our website, cbcnews.ca. Have yourselves a lovely evening, everyone. Good night.